Tunling clan. Gu Yuan's face had clearly trembled slightly when Xiao Yin uttered those words. He immediately inhaled a breath of deep air. His eyes stared sternly at Xiao Yin as he asked, "Why would you ask this?" Uncle Gu Yuan should be aware that the Hun clan possessed the nihility devouring flame, right? Xiao Yin verified. Yes. Back then, I have once exchanged blows with the nihility devouring flame and seriously injured it. After which, there has been no longer any news of it. IR should be recuperating. Gu Yuan nodded and replied. Xiao Yin's brow twitched slightly. He once again inhaled a breath of cold air in his heart in the face of Gu Yuan's strength. He had clearly witnessed the strength of the nihility devouring flame in the Yao realm. Despite the Yao clan using all of its strength to summon the soul fragment of Yao Di, the latter was still destroyed by the nihility devouring flame. It was unexpected that the frighteningly strong nihility devouring flame had been seriously injured by Gu Yuan before. Xiao Yin exchanged glances with Yao Ling beside him, after which he began to describe all that had happened in the Yao realm in detail. This included the Tuling clan that the nihility devouring flame had turned into. How could this be possible? How can the nihility devouring flame turn into the Tunling clan? Some elders exclaimed in disbelief after Xiao Yin had spoken. Uncle Gu, just what exactly is this Tunling clan? Xiao Yin frowned slightly as he looked at Gu Yuan. The latter's brow had been tightly knitted together. The Tunling clan is an extremely mysterious clan during the ancient era. According to the records in the ancient books, it had once stirred countless bloody storm over the Doqi continent. Gu Yuan sighed. His tone was grave as he said, "It is common knowledge that the inheritance of the ancient clans relies on their bloodline strength. If the clan's bloodline strength become exhausted, the clan will be no different from an ordinary person. In summary, every ancient clan will have a time when their bloodline becomes exhausted. Of course, the precondition is that the clan does not produce any other elite Dodi again." Xiao Yin nodded quietly. It was precisely because the bloodline strength of the Xiao clan was exhausted that the Hun clan had the opportunity to destroy it. There will ultimately be various kinds of mysterious things being formed in this world. The Tunling clan is one of the. They possessed an extremely terrifying ability. This was the ability to devour the bloodline strength from other ancient clans in order to extend the time before the bloodline strength of the clan is exhausted. In order to allow the clan to continue surviving back then, the Tunling clan had actually targeted the ancient clans. That was a great calamity of the Doqi continent. Many ancient clans were destroyed by the Tunling clan. Moreover, the bloodline strength within the clans were all obtained by the Tunling clan. This act of the Tunling clan had undoubtedly angered the other ancient clans. At that time, many clans had formed an alliance to fight against the Tunling clan together. That era was a time when the Tunling clan was the overlord. Their strength was far from what any other clan alone could compare with. While the Tunling clan was powerful, it was ultimately unable to fight against the combined strength of the many ancient clans. Finally, the Tunling clan was destroyed. The surviving members of the Tunling clan fled in all directions as they were continuously chased by everyone. Since that time, the Tunling clan had never been able to rise again. It had even slowly disappeared from the world and was never mentioned again. Gu Yuan's eyes slowly narrowed after he spoke until this point. He slowly said, "I recall that the last clan head of the Tunling clan seemed to have been killed by the Hun clan." Oh! Many people within the large hall had a change in expression upon hearing these words. It seemed that the Tunling clan had completely vanished from the world ever since that time. However, it seems that the Hun clan has continued to exist until now. A glint flashed across Gu Yuan's eyes. It seemed as though he had thought of something. Could it be that the Hun clan is the Tunling clan? Xiao Yin asked in disbelief. I don't think so. According to the records in the ancient books, The Tunling clan had also attacked the Hun clan back then. However, they were eventually repelled. Perhaps the Hun clan had obtained something from the last clan head. This had allowed them to survive for so many years until now, Gu Yuan slowly said. Clan head, do you still remember those ancient clans that had declined or disappear one after another after the Dou-Chi continent began to seldom produce any elite Dou-Di? Some of the ways that those ancient clans had disappeared were quite mysterious. Now that I think about it, they were quite similar to what the Shi and Ling clan had experienced. Gu Dao's expression was grave as he suddenly opened his mouth and said, You mean, those ancient clans did not decline naturally. Instead, they were destroyed by the Hun clan? Gu Yuan asked. After tens of thousands of years, those ancient clans from back then had been replaced countless of times. However, it seemed that only the Hun clan appear completely safe each time. Their bloodline strength appears as though it was endless. Perhaps I am not the only one who finds this strange. Due to this clan being mysterious and unfathomable, however, there was no means to go about investigating it even if one wished to do so. Now that Xiao Yin have said this, we have no choice but to doubt if this Hun clan possess an ability similar to the Tunling clan. If this is really the case, we will seem to be like a bloodline spring that had been domesticated by the Hun clan. Gu Dao's expression was a little gloomy. His voice slowly resounded over the hall, causing a chill to rise from the bottom of everyone's hearts. There is no need to describe the Hun clan as being this terrifying. Even though they possess an ability similar to that of the Tunling clan, they do not have the ability to domesticate us. Otherwise, Hun Tiandi would not have been seriously injured by an all-out strike from Xiao Xin back then. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. Those elders sighed in relief after seeing his calm appearance. Since the Nihility Devouring flame has appeared, it is likely that he has completely recovered from his injuries. In this way, however, I am aware of how the Hun clan is able to avoid our probing. Gu Yuan's finger gently drew a circle in front of him, after which he grabbed the circle in his hand and said, This is because he had swallowed the entire realm into his body. Hiss. Many people within the hall inhaled a breath of cold air upon hearing this. Swallowing the entire realm into his body? Was that really something that a human could do? He is not a human, Gu Yuan smiled calmly. A cold glint surged within his eyes. I have not fought with him for so many years. It seems that his control over the devouring power has been increasing. Back then, he still had difficulty pulling something like this off. As for the matter of the Nihility Devouring flame transforming into the members of the Tunling clan that Xiao Yin had described, perhaps he is the true reason why the Hun clan is able to survive for such a long time. Clan head, you mean the Nihility Devouring flame had devoured the last clan head of the Tunling clan? This has allowed it to gain such a mysterious ability? A white-haired old man beside Gu Dao spoke in a somewhat hoarse voice. This should be the case. Otherwise, I am really unable to think of how the Hun clan is able to obtain the ability of the Tunling clan. Gu Yuan nodded. His eyes were slightly lowered, and an icy cold murderous intent flashed across them. The existence of this Nihility Devouring flame was far too great of a threat to their ancient clans. They must find a way to eliminate it. The hall had also become quiet because of this. No one spoke. None of them had expected that the Hun clan was actually still hiding such things. Moreover, the main reason for them to lean backwards at a loss was the existence of the Nihility Devouring flame. The Hun clan had attacked the Ling, Shi, and Yao clans. It is likely that they have two aims. One is to gather bloodline strength while the other is naturally the Dou-Chi ancient god Jade. It seems Hun Tiandi is unable to endure any longer. Gu Yuan lifted his head. His eyes looked at the empty space. Those sharp eyes seemed to have penetrated through the space and see the scene he was thinking of in his heart.
Hun Tiandi have an emperor, Xiao Yin muttered softly.
This name was incomparably overbearing. However, this person did indeed possess the capital to have such a name. The only person standing at the peak of the top experts on the continent who could fight him was likely Gu Yuan. Uncle Gu, how do you plan to deal with them? The Hun clan already possess 4 pieces of ancient jades in their hands. They will likely try to obtain the other 4 pieces. At that time, they will obtain the 2 Shi ancient god cave, and they might even be able to obtain a secret to advance to the Do D class. At that time, no one on the Do Chi continent will be able to fight with him. The life and death of everyone will be controlled by the Hun clan. Xiao Yin's eyes stared intently at Gu Yuan as he spoke in a deep voice. Without realizing it, they had actually already descended into such an urgent situation. This slow method that the Hun clan had used to kill them off was draining their strength a little at a time. If this continued, it was likely that the most tragic scene would be enacted. Gu Yuan's expression was as deep as water. No one knew what he was thinking. The other elders of the Gu clan had also remained quiet. Although the incident that had occurred caused them to feel uneasy, if they were to decide to start a war with the Hun clan, it would definitely be an extremely miserable big war. They might win or lose in this war. The victor survives while the loser would be left with nothing. Even someone as strong as Gu Yuan had difficulty making a quick decision when it came to such a choice. Uncle Gu, currently only 3 of the 8 ancient clans, with the exception of the Hun clan, still survives. If another clan is eliminated, we will perhaps only be able to sit back and wait to die. Xiao Yin finally opened his mouth and spoke in a deep voice after the pressuring silence continued for a couple of minutes. Fight, and there will still be a chance to survive. Continue doing nothing, and the incident that the Ling, Shi, and Yao clans had experienced will definitely descend upon us. Xiao Yin suddenly raised his voice, causing the bodies of many elders to tremble slightly. Their eyes looked at Yao Ling beside Xiao Yin. The latter's face was filled with grief. Her clan was destroyed, and she was homeless. All of the usual haughtiness had vanished. The many pairs of eyes slowly shifted towards Gu Yuan on the leader's seat. It seemed that they were awaiting his decision. Gu Yuan slowly sighed in front of the many pairs of eyes. He lifted his head and looked at Xiao Yin, only to smile. Good little fellow, you are indeed bold. Someone, send a message to the Yin and Lei clan. Invite their clan leaders to come and discuss the matter of life and death. Xiao Yin's tensed heart also let out a heavy sigh after hearing Gu Yuan's words. He had already personally witnessed the frightening strength of the Hun clan. Other than the Gu clan, it was likely extremely hard to find any other faction on the Do Chi continent other than the Gu clan, which could fight it. If the Gu clan still choose to do nothing, the Sky Mansion Alliance would likely be faced with a threat to its survival. The many elders from the Gu clan within the large hall also revealed a somewhat complicated expression after seeing Gu Yuan making his decision. They understood that the Gu clan would not be able to change its decision after today. The 2 largest super factions on the Do Chi continent was finally able to fight again after 1,000 years. Moreover, this time around, it would likely be a real life and death battle. The victor survives while the loser dies. Gu Yuan's decision quickly spread to the entire upper echelon of the Gu clan. In an instant, the atmosphere within the Gu realm became a little tense. Many experts were being dispatched to the central plains to closely monitor every action of the Hun clan. Xiao Yin did not immediately leave the Gu realm while the Gu clan had entered into a cautious state. There was still quite a lot of energy from the Tier 9 mysterious pill lingering within his body. Having these energy remaining in his body was not beneficial to him. Hence, he must swiftly refine it. Otherwise, these wild and violent energy might once again cause him body some harm. A bamboo house stood on a quiet mountain. Gentle breeze blew, and the bamboo forest swayed. It appeared just like a green ocean wave. Xiao Yin Ji, the medicinal ingredients you need are all here. Is there anything else that you are missing? Sun Er stood prettily within the bamboo house. Her elegant clothes could not hide her alluring, beautiful figure. Her unusually exquisite, pretty face contained a gentle smile. Any heroic-like person would become soft under that smile. Many jade boxes were floating in front of Sun Er. Various shocking energy was vaguely scattered from within the jade boxes. Clearly, they were not ordinary things. Xiao Yin randomly glanced with his eyes before focusing on the most beautiful figure. He stepped forward and hooked with his arm. The delicate wrist was unceremoniously pulled into his embrace as he laughed. I am still lacking a beauty. Sun Er's pretty face turned slightly red upon hearing Xiao Yin teasing her. She glared at him, only to appear extremely enchanting. This caused Xiao Yin to feel his eyes becoming a little heated. The temptation when this goddess-like beauty in the hearts of the younger generation of the Gu clan revealed such a bewitching expression was really irresistible.
Sun Er gently leaned in Xiao Yan's embrace.
Her somewhat icy cool hand suddenly removed Xiao Yan's clothes gently. A couple of finger-large red bloody scars were revealed. It had been left behind by one of the 4 demon saints of the Hun clan, Hun Yin, back at the Yao realm. Although the injury had been turned into a couple of shallow bloody scars, it was still possible to guess just how serious the injury was back then. Sun Er's finger touched these bloody scars. Those crystal-like, clear eyes revealed a little heartache. She gently clenched her teeth and softly said, "These fellows from the Hun clan really deserve to die." "Ha ha, it is only a small wound," Xiao Yin laughed. He quickly held Sun Er's face and directly bit on her gently lips, after which he finally laughed loudly and released her face, which had become embarrassed. His body moved and he appeared on the bed. With a wave of his hand, the many jade boxes split apart and turned into various medicinal ingredients, which floated in front of him. "Sun Er, help me stand guard. I need some time to refine the mysterious pill's medicinal strength in my body. Try to prevent anyone from disturbing me during this period of time." Xiao Yan's expression became grave as he entered into a serious topic. He let out a low cry and literally swiftly appeared on his shoulder. It widened its mouth. A fire cauldron flew out and directly absorbed all of these floating medicinal ingredients. The redness of Sun Er's face slowly diminished after she saw Xiao Yin began his refinement. She nodded gently and softly withdrew from the room. She flipped her hand and shut the door. Only then did her hand touch her lips. Her eyes revealed a gentle expression.
Ah, Yaumis.
An elderly laughter suddenly sounded from behind Sun Er while she was being absent-minded. Sun Er hurriedly turned around and looked at Ling Ying a short distance behind. Her pretty face reddened as she immediately grinned and said, "Old Ling." Ling Ying smiled kindly. He walked to Sun Er's side and his eyes looked into the room. Suddenly, he muttered to himself, "Young Mrs. Eyesight is indeed far from this blurry old eyes of mine can compare with." Although I have sensed that young Master Xiao Yan's achievement in the future will likely be quite great back then, I have never imagined that he will be able to reach his current level.
Sun Er smiled sweetly.
Those sparkling pretty eyes contained some pride. She might still remain calm and indifferent when others praised her. However, if they were to praise Xiao Yin, her heart would involuntarily reveal a joy. Ugh, recalling what happened back then really leaves one absent-minded. Over a decade ago, young Master was still doing his best in order to defeat a mere Nalan Yanran. Now, however, even the clan head acknowledged his achievement. Ling Yin laughed as he cherished those memories. He still remembered that he had even secretly rapped Xiao Yin before. After all, the both of them were in 2 completely different worlds back then. At that time, Xiao Yin would not be able to successfully be with Sun Er no matter what. However, these decades of continuous effort had allowed the useless person from the Xiao clan back then to reach the peak of the continent. Sun Er sat on the stairs. Her hands held her cheeks and her pretty eyes appeared distant. Finally, she smiled gently. She was very fortunate that she had spent her childhood living in that small Wudan city. Regardless of whether it was now or in the future, the memories would be retained deep within her heart. The medicinal pills that Xiao Yin needed to refine were not of a very high tier. However, it was a little unfamiliar to him. This was because the medicinal pills had the effect of resolving the wild and violent force within the Tier 9 mysterious pill and allow him to successfully refine the energy from it. Although it was possible to gradually refine the medicinal strength by relying on the purifying demonic lotus flame, the speed of doing so was not only slower, but it would also result in quite a big loss for Xiao Yin. A Tier 9 mysterious pill was not something that he could simply refine as he pleased. If it was not because he had absorbed the energy of the other 3 embryonic pill, which resulted in some unexpected changes, it was impossible for him to really refine a Tier 9 mysterious pill. Since he had already consumed it, he must definitely maximize its effect. With Xiao Yin's current skill, he only required half a day or so to refine these medicinal pills. There were already 3 different colored medicinal pills floating in front of him when by sunset. The 3 medicinal pills were the size of a thumb. They had different colors, but were filled with spirituality. Xiao Yin opened his eyes. He widened his mouth and directly swallowed the 3 medicinal pills into his body. His body quickly moved and hurried into the fire cauldron in the midair. Little E waved its hand, and a pink fire dragon wrapped around Xiao Yan's body. After the 3 medicinal pills entered Xiao Yan's body, most of the medicinal strength from the Tier 9 mysterious pill still lingering within it began to loosen. Adding the support from the purifying demonic lotus flame, the hard energy crystals were quickly melted. It turned into an extremely powerful liquid energy that flowed fiercely within Xiao Yin meridians. At the end, it even emitted waves of swoosh-swoosh sound. Xiao Yin sat within the cauldron. His expression was solemn. With an increasing amount of energy being refined into powerful Do Qi that merged into his body, his aura, which had just broken through the 6-star Do Shang class, had gradually become firm and even showed signs of once again climbing slowly. The frightening strength of a Tier 9 mysterious pill was once again unleashed. This refinement by Xiao Yin continued for 10 days in the blink of an eye. During these 10 days, the energy of the Tier 9 mysterious pill within Xiao Yan's body had been refined a cluster at a time. Finally, it turned into churning Do Qi, which merged into his body. On the 11th day, Xiao Yin, who was in the cauldron, slowly opened his eyes. Immediately, many fire dragons rapidly entwined around his body. Finally, it turned into fire lines that were inhaled into his nose. The fire cauldron had also quietly disappeared. Xiao Yan's feet gently landed onto the ground. He shut his eyes and sensed his surroundings. A satisfied smile immediately rose onto his face. The result of this refinement was within his expectations. His strength was not only stabilized at the 6-star Doshang class, but he had even leaped into the intermediate 6-star Doshang class. This Tier 9 mysterious pill had actually allowed his strength to soar by 1 star. Its effect was really praiseworthy. A Tier 9 mysterious pill was indeed extraordinary. Unfortunately, at this level, my body has already become quite sensitive towards the medicinal strength. Even if I consume another Tier 9 mysterious pill in the future, it will likely not produce such a result. Unless I consume the even higher grade Tier 9 golden pill? Xiao Yin clenched his hand. He immediately felt some regret. If the Tier 9 mysterious pill still possessed such an effect, he would do his best to refine it a couple more times. After all, if he was to train normally, he would at least need many years in order to advance by 1 star. Yet, a Tier 9 mysterious pill was able to shorten this by dozens of times. Creak. The door was slowly pushed open as Xiao Yin ended his training.
Xun er smiling walked in.
Her beautiful figure was full of temptation under the sunlight. Xiao Yin Ji, congratulations on the advancement of your strength. Xiao Yin smiled after seeing Sun Er's saucy smile. He rubbed his hands together. With his current strength, he was able to use the power of the 9 mysterious golden lightning. However, there was ultimately a limit to such a strength. Hence, he should not easily use it unless it came to a critical moment. Xiao Yin Ji, the members of the Yin and Lei clans have already arrived at the Gu clan. Father has said to invite you over. Oh, have they finally arrived? Xiao Yin lifted his brow. He immediately nodded. Currently, he was not alone. There was still the Sky Mansion alliance behind him. Even an ancient clan like the Gu clan would not easily disregard this large faction on the Central Plains.